Back, sort of what were the things that your big takeaways?
I think it's just getting back out there again, just being able to see the coaches. I also got some time to speak with their current quarterback, DJ Lagway, and just hear his perspective on things and what separated Florida for him. And I think that was really big for me to hear and just hear that perspective. I think that's going to help me as I make my decision moving forward.
Have you started to narrow things down at all?
I'm starting to. Yeah, definitely. I think this was a big summer for me to make these trips and see what schools I, truly want to pursue.
Do you know when you're going to officially narrow things?
In terms of commitment, I'm, looking to ride it out the whole way through. Probably sometime around this time
next year.
Yeah.
But narrowing it down to like a top 5, top 10, like that.
Yeah. I'll probably have that in the fall.
Okay. Do you know any schools that are definitely going to make that first cut?
There's some schools that I'm definitely, high on my list. Florida's one of them. LSU, hometown school. Ohio State, I had a great visit up there. Michigan, and I'd say Bama as well.
What was it that Lagway told you that, I guess, made you feel pretty good about the Gators?
He just said the coaches really, just the relationship he built in his recruitment process with the coaches, that's really what separated him. He said everything was very genuine. They didn't fake it or anything, and they were always, welcoming to him and his family. And I think that's, a big thing for me. Looking forward.
Everybody pitches development and whatnot. But any school pitched like anything kind of unique or really stands out to you, like that makes them different?
I think they all kind of pitch, the same thing in a way. They all have a different way of going about it, but in a way it's all the same. Obviously, I think that's where the relationship standpoint comes in, and that's what really separates, being more comfortable with one coach than another.
How much does distance matter to you?
Distance isn't a factor. I'm willing to go wherever I need to, wherever I feel like I can develop the best.
Are there one or two QB coaches that you would say you communicate with the most?
In terms of schools?
Yeah.
I say Coach Sloan recently, and then Coach Ryan O'Hara.
Okay.
What campuses have you not been to yet that you want to get to?
Potentially Miami. I've never been up there, so maybe Miami. That's really, I've been everywhere this summer, so that's really the only school that could really. In Florida State, I can get back out to Florida State again.
3 or 4 big. Oh, go ahead.
Are there any games that, like, I don't know how big of a college football fan you are, but are there any games this year that you really want to make sure you get to?
Clemson and LSU is a big one that me and my family are talking about getting out to. I think Ohio State plays Texas.
Yep.
And then Bama plays Tennessee. So it's a lot. There's a lot that I'm definitely going to be trying to get out to.
Do you think you'll be in Gainesville for a game?
Definitely. I forgot what game. Was it a Texas game? I think it was Texas.
You mentioned a year. You hope by a year from now you'll have this all figured out. What are going to be like just the 3 or 4 things for you that are going to make you lean one way or another?
Like I've said, relationships is a big thing for me. Just feeling comfortable to be able to go to that school and have a home and away from home, and be able to feel like I can always go to the coaches for anything, not just football but life as well.
How much does early playing time matter to you?
Obviously that's something I want. As a freshman I want to come in and start right away, but I'm not opposed to learning from a guy like DJ Lagway for a year or two. And, once I step in, I'm already kind of used to it.
As far as, like, for folks at home who haven't watched you play, who would your game remind them of, like in the NFL or college?
I'd probably say Josh Allen or Jaden Daniels. Those are the 2 guys I watch the most and I keep an eye on, and I feel like my game resembles them the most.
Has LSU pitched to you what they did with Jaden and how that process was for him and how they can do that for you?
In a way. I think they kind of, try to keep the focus on me. I'm going to write my own story there, and I think that's kind of their focus. They don't want to compare me to another guy, because at the end of the day, it is my story if I commit there.
A lot of times we see quarterbacks, you mentioned next summer committing. How important is it to you to get that done so you can start to bring guys around you, get a squad together?
Super important. I think that's, obviously the quarterback commits, but you got to have guys that can block for you. You got to have guys that can, you can throw to.
So Elijah, you said that maybe there may be a situation you would love to play early if possible. First year's hard for a quarterback. What would you need to work on to be ready to play in year one somewhere? What are your points of emphasis?
I think the biggest thing is definitely the mental part. Having to adjust from high school to college is a big step. So just being ready to take on everything mentally.
How much have you studied the offenses of every program that you seriously considered? Have you put a big emphasis on that, or is it more about relationships?
I mean, obviously, I want to, feel like I can fit in the offense. But as far as studying, I hadn't really, gotten too much into that. I'm really just trying to enjoy this process, getting to know these schools and getting to know these coaches.
When it comes to your conversation that you had with DJ Wagner when you were at Florida, how important was that perspective that he gave you on just the process and how it is being a quarterback at Florida?
Oh, for sure. It was super important. Definitely hearing that, and definitely hearing his experience at Florida. It was something I'm definitely going to consider as I move on through my recruitment process. His family talked to my family, his mom talked to my mom, his dad talked to my dad. So I think that was just really big for all of us.
How was it getting to know his family, and what did they kind of have to tell you?
They said Florida's great. It's a great place, and they feel like he was able to step in and kind of feel comfortable. They felt safe sending him there. It's a big move for your parents as you move to college. They felt good sending him to Florida.
Yeah, they talked to you about that at all, just making the move in general, how the coaching staff will kind of here and treat you while you're away from home like that.
Right, exactly.
Elijah, did you grow up? I know you live in Baton Rouge, but is that where you're born and raised?
Yes, sir.
Did you grow up going to LSU games?
No, not really. My dad's from Atlanta, so I actually kind of grew up a Bulldog fan, and then I kind of switched over, when Joe Burrow was playing.
Well, those two schools, neither one of those two schools are fans of Florida, I would say.
Oh, yeah, no.
So being in college town, it's always interesting because you're either staying or you're not staying. Have you thought about what it would be like to play for Georgia or one of their rivals, one of LSU's rivals?
Definitely. I'm not opposed to making that type of decision at all. I think it's just fit for me, whether that's LSU or not. It doesn't matter if it's their rival. I'm not opposed to committing to a school.
Mom or dad? They got a favorite? Either one of them got a favorite yet? Right now, not the
right now.
Yeah. Who does mom love?
Mom hadn't been able to come on a lot of these trips, but I think mom likes. She likes Florida. She doesn't.
And you don't have to say that just because.
No.
What about dad?
My dad, I mentioned those schools earlier, and I think we're kind of on the same page with that.
Thank you.
Just to recap, just because I didn't know your whole visit schedule, but just places you hit in the spring.
Pretty much everywhere. So I was at Georgia, I went to Clemson, and I didn't work out or camp, but I was on a visit to Auburn, and then we went to Michigan, we went to Bama, we went to Ohio State, and then just this past week we went to Florida.
And that was in the span of how long?
2 weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah.
I think it's like 2 months.
Living out of a suitcase, for sure.
So was it flying or driving? How'd you guys do it?
Mostly flying. Places like Bama and Auburn, we were able to drive, but mostly flying.
How much do you pay attention to how recruiting's going in the 26th class? Like, obviously LSU missed on Bo Bentley, who chose Oklahoma after the lead left. Like, does that factor in your decision? Do you pay attention to who in 26 is going where?
Not really, if I'm being completely honest. That's not really something that concerns me. At the end of the day, it's all about the school I feel that's best for me and the school I want to commit to, regardless if a 26 is already committed there or not.
Elijah, you mentioned all these
6, 7, 8 visits, busy schedule. Any of these visits either surprise you with how well they went, or just the visit went so great that you want to talk about it?
I'll say Ohio State. That was my first time being out there. Seeing what they're all about. It was a great time. My dad came with me on that trip, and he also loved it. I think I definitely want to explore them more and continue to visit them.
What do you like about your fit over in Columbus?
I think just the coaches, Coach Fessler, their quarterbacks coach, and then I also got to speak with Coach Day. You could just tell it's a different type of culture around there, and just a different vibe.
Do you have an agent yet? And if so, who is it?
No, I do not have an agent. There's guys that are trying to pursue, but me and my family are we're slow to that and slow to that part of it.
Who do you work with as far as quarterback coach wise?
I work with Quarterback Country, Animal Bill.
Malik Rozier, one of those guys, and then he's former
David Morris.
David Morris.
Yeah.
Okay, keep it country.
You mentioned geography not being a big thing for you, but yet LSU is still very much in the picture. So what is it about LSU, independently of just being close to home, that you like?
I think it was just because Coach Sloan got on me so early. He got on me at the start of my freshman year, and we continued to build that relationship. So I think that's the biggest part. I don't think it's just because LSU's home, but yeah.
Since June 15th, I wouldn't even imagine how busy your phone has been, but who has kind of been the most consistent since June 15th? Who blew you up first, and who maybe surprised you with hitting you up on the 15th?
I definitely say Florida has been one of those consistent, contacts. Auburn has been hitting me. Ohio State, Georgia, they've been trying to, continue to build a relationship with me, continue outside of football.
You've been to Florida now last summer and this summer both, right? What do you like about a fit in the swamp? Obviously, guys like Billy Napier from his time back at UL, and a lot of UL guys on that staff, Louisiana ties. What do you like about a fit in Florida?
I think it's just, like I said, the coaches, and it's also the field. I can definitely see myself playing at Florida. It's not up north. It's down in the south where it's warm. So yeah.